Hey, thanks for joining us on Fix My Fault Live. I am here with 2021 Wimbledon champ Connie Chen.
Thank you. And Nick, congratulations on being top 100 coach. Well,
You,
how do you feel?
oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. How was it to win a major championship like that? You rolled with that one pretty good too. We did not talk about how we were going to open there.
So what are we doing?
I have all day.
We're answering questions,
Yeah, I
aren't
have
we?
all day. What should we do?
All right.
Brad, what do you got?
Gotta answer a few questions left over from last week.
Okay.
Mr. Morris says, I'm 72 years old. I carry a one-digit handicap. Now my distance has gotten shorter. What shaft flex would you recommend?
Distance has gotten shorter. What shaft flex would you recommend? Well, what I would first recommend is I can kind of give you some generic advice, but seeing someone who's a professional golf coach would be your best idea. They're going to be able to watch you hit balls. On these fancy launch monitors, they give you a ton of different data. I would guess like on SkyTrack Plus here, we're measuring launch angle, backspin, and the angle of descent, and that's on every single shot. So if you're hitting a driver, you could actually fit yourself at home with this if you knew what you were doing, and maybe someday there'll be a program that'll just walk you right through that on our launch monitor here. But so I would say starting with something that's close to 45 inches, which is usually a little shorter than most of the manufacturers make them, would be a good start. Doesn't mean that's the right one. Something lighter and stiffer probably. So 50-gram stiff shaft to get started with that, and mainly the flex piece, and why I don't usually tell people to start with regular shafts is the amount that the shaft actually bends down at the bottom. It bends towards the target as you're about to hit. So if I bend this a little bit, that's the direction that the shaft moves when it's with a driver. The more you have of that, the higher you can hit the ball, but you also add some dynamic loft, which can spin it more. So 45, stiff, but get a launch monitor or a coach.
Yeah.
What else? Is that your contribution to the answer?
That yeah? Very legit, right?
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. So glad you're here. Tennis.
Yeah, like I said, I'm just here to hold the iPad and make blinds.
So far, you've done an amazing job. More questions?
Mr. Roderick.
Mr. Roderick?
He says, can you explain?
You take this so well. You're doing great. Shoulder tilt going back and through. Okay, so starting at address, the average tour player that you'd watch on TV has their torso or the top of their shoulders bent forward 40-ish degrees. Well, if I take that forward bend that it's 40 degrees and I don't tilt my shoulders 40 degrees to the ground, well, now I've got a little bit of a problem. You can see how my head
don't worry, I know where your eyes are.
Almost hit me in the eye. My shoulder tilt is pretty level, as Connie's expertly demonstrating here. But I need to tilt myself towards the ground about the same amount that I was bent forward, or close to 40 degrees. 35-ish would probably be where I'd live as far as the amount you tilt. Then to stay in that tilt coming through the ball on the other side.
Jesus.
Over here.
A little taller, so I can't get there.
So on this side of the ball, I would do about the same amount of tilt again, ever so slightly more than where you started. But that's why you need to do it. It keeps your inclination to the ground, or the amount that I'm bent forward. I just keep that constant throughout the whole swing. People call that staying in posture, or staying
You're not really
in your
staying in posture.
Yeah,
right?
staying in your whatever else it is.
Position,
Yeah,
right?
your body's moving around all the time. So at the top of the swing, you've got to bend yourself to the left. So a way to do that is first to change I'll take away the motion of the swing, but if I straighten my trail leg and I flex my lead knee, now I have some tilt already. That can enable my spine, especially my lower spine, to tilt already. So most of the tilting that you do really comes from your pelvis being tilted to the left. And then a little bit comes from your thorax or your upper spine tilting. And then that's how you get to the 35 on this side. Then coming through the ball the same way, you want to hit, push your hips or shift your hips towards the target. Now that tilts me to the right, and then coming through the ball, just keep tilting to the right, and I'm bent over about 45-ish degrees on the other side of the ball. So most of it's done at your hips. That's where I think most people get it wrong. It isn't usually that you have to bend your spine more to the left, although some people need to do that too. You going to contribute with a yes again?
No,
Sound okay?
I contributed with the rod.
That was good. Yep. And I can still see. Was that it for questions from last time?
Yep.
Okay.
Great.
So more tilt and whatever the first one was. Okay. Now it's your turn. This is your part of the job.
Was it 45-inch stiffer
45-inch stiff, light.
Yes.
I need to do something over here. You mentioned your job earlier.
Right.
Knocking it dead so far.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean
I
not
have a lot of jobs. I
not
make your
anyone
clothes and your
not-
shoes and your pants. So.
not anyone can do what you do, can they? So, so Brad, new Brad here, found a swing that I thought was fun to look at online. This one's going pretty viral. I'd like to see why. Can we go ahead and play this one?
Sure.
And you can play it pretty slow. Nice backswing. Nobody's gotten hurt yet, but wait for it. So we throw a little OptiMotion on there. The ball's been hit. Where did it bounce off of?
I think his head.
I know, but how did it get there?
Oh, wait.
I only saw the swing, so it's really on the toe.
Yeah, he hit the post.
This
there.
post?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, I'd say don't do that. But one, I'll keep going because I think the follow through is interesting. Yeah, that's pretty unique. And fall down. And OptiMotion lost him when he hit the ground. The motion capture system we're using here is looking for a swing. So it's doing pretty well in here because that's
It
not
found
looking
him.
like a swing. Then he hit the ground. All right, so one thing you could do, can you go back to address with him?
Sure.
This one's really struck off the toe. How about just like a line on his forehead, vertical? Can you do that? So this is a test.
I'm trying.
You know, it is on the screen. Okay, so that's about, Connie missed by a couple of inches, but let's just go up to the top of the swing. And you'll see that he's lacking a little bit of that shoulder tilt as well. Keep going, keep going. All right, this is where we're going to run into a problem of the backward bend and the side bend at impact. So now you can roll this down to 7. That actually looks really nice. I'd take that one. As his spine now is almost vertical, that's really hard to reach the ball. So there's a host of different problems in that. And then keep going where the club just exits past his left shoulder. Good. And now we have none of that shoulder tilt, or just when you're looking at him, he's barely tilted to the right, but he needs to have about 49 degrees more side bend in there. So a way that he could practice would be to have someone nice hold a driveway marker up or something where you can actually push up against that. You want to try?
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think anyone would want to get close to him at this stage.
Well, no, I wouldn't do that. But with the driver, this would be a good way to practice. I think we did this last week for
We
something
did, yeah.
else.
Do you want me to use my hand instead? I got
No,
long arms.
no, but sure, whatever you want.
There you go. I
Said
just don't want to
someone
poke you
nice.
with the stick.
Hey, I feel the same way. Okay, so you'd make practice swings, pushing up against that driveway marker all the way through the ball, even until your arms are past your shoulder on this side. That'd be a good way to feel how much side bend you need to have and how much
Sorry.
I have all day.
I lost it. Okay, keep going.
What happened? What did you do?
No, I almost killed you with the stick.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay, great.
It's my fault.
Have someone nice do this. So you could
you
do that
Oh,
enough,
there.
whether it's up against like a wall at your house or just make some swings with your arms. But something needs to keep you in that, from popping out of that forward bend. Oh, that is a long reach for you. That's pretty good. So that anything to keep you from popping out of that forward bend too soon is important. That would be just a simple way to do it. Get more creative on those types of things, but that one, that's how I'd practice with him. I'd hold that shaft up, he'd hit this ball. I might teach him how not to turn his hips when he's doing it too, and slide his foot a little bit, stay really bent over through the shot. What's next? We have a student?
Yes, we have Brandon.
Brandon, okay. Oh, good one, okay.
Do you want him from
Can you do,
front?
yeah,
Do you want to do him
let's
from the front or the
do,
back?
let's do both, and then we'll compare him to some rock star players. Brandon is good, right? I think he was a 3 handicap or something like that.
3
Okay.
to 5.
So watching him at address looks all fairly normal. Maybe his, you have to hold the stick and hold
the
the
iPad is a
iPad.
lot of
That's
jobs
all you
here.
do. And say yes. Okay, it looks like he's got his weight maybe a touch more towards his trail foot there, but let's see how this goes. So go ahead. Well, he has an error too. He's using a swing caddy. You'd need a SkyTrack Plus. Okay, stop right there. A lot of hip shift to the right. Doesn't mean it's wrong, just trying to make an observation. And keep going all the way up to the top. Swing's not very long, and looking at that club face, that's pretty open, which I hope we'll see over here. All right, let's do the other side. Go with the hand path. Okay, he's got a T in the butt end of his club. I don't know why, but this is a little problematic for if you're going to hit any draws. So looking from my hand up here, the butt end of the club is probably in line with like this right clavicle somewhere in here. That needs to be much further behind him as far as the depth if he wants to draw these easily or just not slice. And that club face looks like it's about 90 degrees too open. But when we looked at address, he also didn't have his hands turned. Most people who do that have their hands turned too far towards the target side of the shaft, and then as you take the club back, you're just more likely to open it up. He had a fairly normal grip, I think how you'd look at that, pretty standard with his lead hand and trail hand. But to open the club face that much, what he's really doing is excessively twisting the shaft. And you don't have to do that with extending your wrist, but this looks eerily similar to the top of his swing.
It does.
So I would be practicing how to do his hand path a little bit different at this point in time. We haven't looked at the downswing, and the face angle at the top of the swing is really open. I mean, what he's actually set up to do, can you draw a red line from the ball and try to aim it like over here somewhere?
Sure.
Over here? Okay, and then how about a yellow line and put that from the ball and run it like through his lead arm.
My
You
bad.
did so
I
well.
am-
No, you're knocking it dead today. That's
am-
good. And then a yellow one to right about here, right about where his shoulder's at. Doesn't need to go through him or anything.
I'm trying.
I can see that.
There you go.
So what I'm trying to show is that his club face angle at this point, he's at the top of the swing. We haven't hit a ball yet, but he's got the face angle as a red vector. At impact, it would be aimed over here, if that's how he returned the club down to the ball. He also has the shaft aimed quite a bit to the left, and the depth of his lead arm isn't out very far. So he's got the swing path at this point in time aimed over here. So right now you've got a lot of spin loft, and you have the face angle extremely open to the shaft at this point in time. Doesn't mean you're going to slice. You can have plenty of time to straighten out both of these on the way down, but right now we've got a world of problems in here. Okay, can we go down to, let's just do 5. I think he mentioned, or Brad said it earlier, that he always feels like his arm isn't in enough. It's not in enough at the top, so having it in enough there is a real problem. Interesting, not quite enough hip shift there either. Keep going down to 6 here, maybe 6.5 if you can't see the face. Okay. So he's done a nice job at this point in time in the swing. That's an interesting way to put it together. He really over twists the shaft and aims the shaft to the left. Most people would hit the big slice with the vectors that we drew before, or that Connie drew. But now on the way down, he's learned how to keep his lead wrist supinating enough or twisting enough, and how to flex his wrist a touch, and how to keep his right shoulder externally rotated for a long enough time where he's actually lowered the shaft in. So it started really open, aimed to the left, and on the way down he just kept twisting both of those variables back in. And you'll see when he hits how much higher he's got the shaft than where it was at address, and his right forearm will be really low. That's how good players make up for a lot of the extra opening of the face angle and aiming the swing direction too far to the left of the top of the swing. They're just very good at the rest of it. This is pretty good. I just don't think any of these are going to draw, no matter how he does this one. And then at impact, I don't think he probably hits too many fat. He's good at pushing the shaft forward, but not nearly enough hip sway toward the target there. How about like wherever it comes out over here? I think he gets it up high enough. Yeah. Okay. So none of those are probably nice push draws. They're all pretty straight. They might fall to the right. I bet he doesn't hit them as far as he wants to either. And how about the 8 on this side? Okay, not bad. Jumping off the ground, he's pushing pretty hard. Those are pretty good. Maybe he does hit it as far as he wants to based on that one. So, all right, side view camera here. So what I would do first is at the top of the swing, don't open the face angle so much, and you've got to get the butt end of the club further behind you. Easy way to do that would be to feel like when you have the shaft parallel to the ground, that you have the face angle as closed as you can. Have it in a lot, and because that's going to help you with the aiming at the top of the swing too, as opposed to pointing it too far to the left. And the way you're going to move your hands is inward enough where it actually just like grazes past your trail leg. You good with that?
Yep.
Is that crazy enough?
Yeah.
So instead of doing your shaft parallel to the ground like normal, which wasn't bad, it was just starting to open the face too much and a little too straight because you have the shaft pointed the wrong direction at the top and not deep enough, do just the opposite of that. You're going to graze your hands. You might be able to hear that in my mic, and close the face a lot. So here's your new shaft parallel to the ground positioning. That in of itself would then be worth seeing, and I guess you'd have the face angle still too open relative to what you might call a standard swing, but you'll have some more depth to the swing that way. Then I think on the downswing, you probably don't have too many problems getting it low enough on this side of the ball. But we'd watch that and see how you do. might feel like you have to turn your hips a lot more to help you get your hand path moving that far in. So as crazy as it sounds, this is it. Face really closed, brush your leg, chip that shot out there. Go ahead and take a look at it using your GolfTech app, your swing capture feature, and you'd have a pretty good idea of what to do next, if you did it enough or not enough.
Yep. Should we give him a kind of area to look for at the top of the backswing? 3 to 5 inches?
Sure.
On the right shoulder?
Sure. Go ahead. Tell them what to do. Where do you want this thing?
Should we do it here? We can actually draw a line.
Sure.
Yeah.
Pull up, yeah, anybody from down the line would be fine. Cameron Champ's a good one from the side view to show the depth of swing, and it's right up there. Yep. So just do a 4 there. Good. So you can see how much further this thing traveled. He needs to keep pulling his arms further. And then the arrow or line Connie just drew, how the Cameron's trail shoulder is about 3, 4, 5 inches further toward the ball than the line drawn down from the butt end of the club. It's a pretty good rule. But this is really why you struggle with the downswing issue that you're describing.
Cool.
Is that good?
Yeah. Do we have another one?
I don't know. Do we have another one?
I
This is
think that's
usually
it.
where I rely on you.
No, I think we've got 2. Do we have any
Okay.
more questions?
Anything to
Yeah.
do? Oh no, they're shaking their heads back there. Yep. Lots of questions.
Next one, Dustin says, I have a neutral grip with my clubs, and I struggle with my irons off the ground, but I hit them well off the tee. Can you explain why this might be?
Hit them well off the ground, but not, or off the tee, but not off the ground. Okay. What do you want to start with?
Probably an attack angle issue
Yeah,
for weak grip, like extension of the lead wrist.
probably. The low point of the swing is back too far on most of them. So maybe the issue that I just keep piggybacking off of what Connie says, when you hit this ball,
Do you want me to just, can you see the ball? Okay.
yeah, they have a full shot over here.
All right.
Yeah.
Just trying to be helpful.
Yeah. So how'd that work?
Not very well, I guess.
This is so much fun with her. Anyway, so when you hit this ball, you want to have the club hit the ground in front of the ball. Most everyone watching this, I hope by now knows that. Even Eric Dennis, who never played golf, knows to do that. So the trick that you have with the ball sitting on the ground, you have a lot of problems in there. You need to hit with the shaft leaning forward so that the club is still going downward. And it needs to go downward just long enough so that you have an angle of attack that's down 4 or 5 degrees, but not down like 50. So there's a challenge in there. You have to have the grip end of the club forward enough to hit a shot, and it doesn't even need to be forward to be really good at golf. This is just an easier way to get the angle of attack right and reduce your dynamic loft, which helps you hit the ball far. Okay, so now I've got to get this forward, but I still need to have the club rising, and that's a real skill that's challenging for people to get. Forward shaft, but the middle of the grip end of the club has to be going up. That's what takes out the angle of attack so that you don't just smash down in this thing. So what most people do when they put the ball on a tee, and why your swing can be so different with a driver and still work, you can get this all wrong with a driver, hit with the shaft leaning backwards and be fine because the low point of the swing can be behind the ball and still allow you to hit upward and make this work. But that's how most people are hitting shots off of a tee. Instead of keeping the longitudinal acceleration, or me pushing the grip like towards Connie's Wimbledon dress there, you got to do that long enough so that the shaft can be forward as it starts to rise. What you're doing on a tee that works but doesn't work on the ground, the shaft isn't moving longitudinally long enough, it starts to slow down too many degrees, and now I'm hitting upward on a ball with an iron off of a tee. It'll still work. But if I put that on the ground and do the exact same thing, now I'm more likely to hit behind it, or I might just barely miss the ground, but the club's ascending too quickly and I hit the middle of the golf ball with the leading edge of the club, which has no loft on it, and it doesn't work. So the practice for someone who has that issue would be you do this 100 different ways. You could take your foot, scrape a line in the ground, and practice hitting in front of it, because that would help you then at least get the position of the grip right. Doesn't mean it's going to be high enough, but at least it's forward enough and you can hit the ground. The other way I'd practice that is how to just hit a shot, hit a ball with what feels like no loft on it at all. So I might have a dynamic loft of 5 degrees there. You have to push the shaft forward tremendously to do that, and just practice hitting these lowest shots. Sometimes good players, the value of a launch monitor could be that launch angle measurement. So if I have the ball on a tee, we'll see if this even works. Let's give it a shot. Put a ball in a tee with an iron, and I'll hit it. This might look eerily similar. Just flicking that thing up into the air. That launch angle is really high. That shot is not good. Doesn't go very far. Could shoot a couple hundred doing that with a 7-iron. My launch angle is 25. So on this one, we'll do the same thing, but I'm going to try to play this game where I push the shaft so far forward that I'm going to launch the ball less than 10 degrees into the air without moving it back in my stance. So I'll just play it in the same spot. Got to have no loft on it. I'm just trying to punch that as low as I can. Forget about how far it goes, but that one goes a lot further with less loft. And 10, almost.
That was a better shot than last week.
10. All red numbers, not very good, but good practice. Thanks for the reminders. I will throw all of your failures in your face here as we keep progressing too. A lot just came to mind right there, Connie. That could have got real personal. Anyway.
Got one more question. Does what actually makes the club ascend off the ground? Would it be the left tilting of the shoulders, or should some radial of the wrist occur, or is it both together?
Good question. You want to even try that one? Nope, you're good?
I didn't hear the first part, sorry.
What were you doing? You're standing right here.
I was just thinking about
All right.
how I was going to make this.
You're trying to think of your next joke, weren't you? Yeah. Okay, so how do you get the club to ascend? You got a bunch of different mechanisms that could do it. Put that down. You're going to help. You're going to help. Just put that down. You haven't been very successful with it anyway. So you do a demo.
Can't flip you off on YouTube, can I?
No, that doesn't work very well. Okay, so Connie needs to get the grip end of the club moving up, and that actually happens from right about here. So the middle of the grip, just past shaft parallel to the ground, that's when this starts to go up. The end of the grip starts to rise when the shaft's parallel to the ground. We'll talk about it right here. So you've got a bunch of different ways you can do that. First one you could do, just without even hitting this ball, you don't even need to move. If I just tilt her to the right, you can see how the grip goes up, okay? If I move her further away, that moves the grip up.
Okay.
Good job, you're a little
Nice.
wobbly. Okay, so both of those would be your main mechanisms. The way to actually do the tilting is keep shifting your hips towards the target. That tilts your spine and your pelvis too. So that's a good place to start. You have other ones though, and some players use this, use these other cues very well too. Go to 6.2-ish. Okay. Now if she starts to flex her lead elbow, that can pull the grip upward too. There are players who play really nice like that. It's just harder to. It's a little harder to do. If it weren't, then we have a correlation of skill between how straight your lead arm is and how well you play. There's a correlation in there that's real strong for a reason. It is easier to hit with your arm straightening as the club and your hands are going outward away from you than it is to pull this up towards you. You can't, it's not that you can't do it, and I actually like it for a lot of really good golfers. Victor Hovland's always done that. Jordan Spieth, who's not always the best hitter off the tee, but really good off the ground, has a lot of lead elbow flex. It's not that you can't, it's just tougher. All right, so those are your ways to do it. The other one that you would have would be to flex your knees and go to 6.5 again, and then you could straighten your legs. That raises the grip end of the club. The trick is doing all of them and doing them all in coordination with still turning through the ball. That's why golf is really hard. That's why we recommend a ton of the shots, like just stop over here, right arm parallel to the ground, and have your legs really straight, your hips up high, a little bend backward here, a little side tilt to the right. Learning how to do that at this point in time is how you do the form when you hit the ball. That's how you get it right. So you can't do this enough. Another question that came up, or another point that was made in that, the radial deviation. So that raises the club up off the ground. Most people, though, I'm trying to teach them how to go into ulnar deviation, or that uncocking of your wrists longer, and learn to move the grip up. So you put...
Because that gets the club head to the ground.
It does, and it keeps you from the ascension of the club from happening too soon. So I would do the raise the grip, ulnar deviate, get really good at that, and you're good. That also helps throw the path out further. If you're going to practice hitting the shot to get the club to ascend, you okay?
Yeah.
All right. If you're going to practice the club ascending, but you're going to do it by just doing the radial deviation, you're really setting yourself up to hit this ball fatter and fat and thin, like that windshield wiper analogy we did last time.
Yep.
Better to, while your wrists are starting to change flex through the ball, 95% of people who are terrible at golf start doing that too soon. So the trick is learning how to delay that and still keep moving through the ball. Then you can start extending your wrist faster and sooner, more like tour players do, to hit the ball higher and farther.
Mm-hmm.
You good with that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I think I need some of that in my golf
That was a
swing.
lot better than you drawing lines. It's a good demo.
Thanks.
One last one.
Emilio.
Emilio.
I have a problem of lifting my spine a little bit on the backswing. The tendency for me is that I hit shots more towards the toe.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the right trail arm straightening too much at impact.
Ah, gotcha. Sounds like more of a downswing problem we can do is backswing. Set up here like you're hitting a ball
Okay.
into that screen.
Am I hitting a ball or am I setting up?
I don't know. Haven't decided yet.
Okay.
Okay. So top of the backswing, like we mentioned before, you need to feel like, if anything, Emilio, that you're actually side bending more and your head is going down in the backswing. That's the opposite of at least what you're describing, which is your shoulders are level and your head is raising up. Can you even see the ball
No.
with your hair in the way? Okay. Then in the downswing, this is where it gets even more problematic. Go ahead and get down to like 6. And if you don't bend forward, now suddenly you don't really have much of that inclination to the ground anymore. Then when you get to the ball, keep going backward more. You need your right arm straight to even reach it. So that's where you see like a picture of someone with both of their arms stretched out really far. So feeling like you side bend yourself more in the backswing. And then on the downswing, you're going to bend yourself now from the side bend to forward bend in a lot. You flex your knees, you flex your spine, you see how Connie's head goes down a few inches. Then you can hit this ball without having your right arm straight. This is hard to do because the part of why you're doing the backward bending on the downswing is to hit it far. And I'm going to tell you how to do things that make you actually swing slower at first, but you need to learn the forward bend before the backward. And he probably doesn't have enough of that on the downswing.
Makes sense.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You haven't argued with me yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Coming soon.
Is that it? You have another question? No? Brad says we're done. Now what do we do?
Oh, close. Thank you for the submission, guys. And yet again, the email is youtube@golftech.com. And we'll see you guys